The ride is over. Arthur Smith's tenure as the Atlanta Falcons head coach has come to an end as of just around midnight last night. Welcome to Rise Up Reactions, the show we talk all things Falcons, NFL, Georgia sports, and in general, the sports news of the day. I'm your host, Dr. Lee Denning, the Golden Hard Doc, and a lifelong sports fan. And the Falcons got absolutely embarrassed in the second half of the Saints game yesterday. And honestly, I'm not all that upset about it. You know, Arthur Smith was fighting for his job these last few weeks. He's gone 7-10, 3 years in a row now. The first two I would call overachievements. The last one certainly an underachievement, especially if you look back. I said at the beginning of the season that this is a season that we needed to have 10 wins in order to justify him continuing to be the coach based on our strength of schedule, which was the easiest in the NFL if you go back and look at it. Had the easiest strength of schedule. We had $90+ million to build the team to his specifications. Wasn't a lot of great quarterback free agents. You know, we could have been in the Derek Carr sweepstakes. We could have been in the Baker Mayfield sweepstakes. Neither of them are great. I said we should be looking at guys like Baker Mayfield. I said that we should be looking at guys like Gardner Minshew early on. Those are both names that I wouldn't have minded, at least for a transition period while we were waiting on the next big guy or waiting for the big free agent to pop off. I think that either one of them could have run this offense better. Obviously, we had subpar play throughout the course of the season. Desmond Ridder came out firing on all cylinders, played really well in the first half overall. And again, we kept it really close, 17-17. We had some really good runs. We were leading at one point. Bijan Robinson had that huge catch that he took to the house. So really wasn't too bad. Jonnu Smith, I think, if I remember, he's the other touchdown we got. It didn't look bad. We actually looked like we were a competent football team. And then the second half happened, and we got outscored 31-0. We put Logan Woodside in there. He throws a pick. Ridder, I think we were just all waiting for Ridder to turn into the Desmond Ridder that we have come to know and not particularly care for over the last 10 weeks or so. And sure enough, I think it was our first drive, maybe it was our second, I don't remember, but sure enough, he throws a devastating interception on our own 30-yard line. They don't take that to the house, but a few short plays later, they're in the end zone. And it was all downhill from there. The Saints opened it up. And then you had that play at the end of the game where it looked like they were going to be going in kneeling formation, like they were basically just going in victory formation, and then score. Decide to go for a touchdown, and that's like just absolutely classless. I don't care who you are. Saints fans are going to say, oh, we just hate the Falcons, so yeah, sticking it to them. For me, it's more like that. You shouldn't do that at any level. I don't care who you are. I wouldn't encourage the Georgia Bulldogs to do that to the Florida Gators. I wouldn't encourage my high school to do it to any of its rivals. You wouldn't encourage that from anybody. So I really think that was a classless move. But either way, the Falcons, we're moving on from Arthur Smith. I have said this about Arthur Smith before. He is a guy who I hope he learns from this. I hope he learns that not all players are the same gear in the overall wheel of your offense. You cannot just say Van Jefferson has the same talent level as Drake London. Mac Hollins has the same talent level as Drake London. Parker Hesse has the same talent level as Kyle Pitts. Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson and Cordell Patterson, they're all the same guy. You just can't do that. You can't plug them in that way. You have to recognize that there are more talented players out there. You take away Saquon Barkley from the New York Giants, they are not as good a team on the ground. You take away CeeDee Lamb from the Dallas Cowboys, their wide receiving room is nowhere near what it should be or what it's been. Even with Cooks there, they're not as good as they have been. And I think that's happened before. Last year with Cooper Kupp being out and Matthew Stafford being out, two of the biggest cogs in their wheel, and they end up with a really bad season. And again, this year they made it back to the playoffs because everybody's been relatively healthy. And the times that they weren't healthy, you had them go through a bad stretch. And again, I still think the Rams are one of the more dangerous teams in this postseason. But the Saints, this game ultimately didn't matter. The Saints, all they did was screw up their draft position, and they got a win over the Falcons, which is great for them. Fine. You got to win over the Falcons. The Falcons have managed once again to get the 8th pick in the NFL draft. And I do think this benefits us just a little bit here. So the Falcons will be picking 8th. I do think that we need to be looking to draft our quarterback. I don't really love any of the options in the offseason for free agency or trading. Some of the guys that might be tradable, you're talking about like Justin Fields, didn't particularly play well against the Green Bay Packers, but he played well against us. So is that just a fluke? Is he really not that good? I don't think we have an answer on him, and I don't know what Chicago's going to do. Chicago certainly could go and try to draft a quarterback, and if they do that, they certainly will move on from Fields. Fields is probably going to cost a day 2 and a day 3 pick to move on. Obviously, they want a first-round pick. They're not going to get that for him, knowing that they have the number 1 overall. Circumstances being what they are, they're just not going to get a number 1, a first-round pick for that. But just looking at the teams ahead of us, you got Carolina's pick going to Chicago. They could take a quarterback, or they could be the desired landing spot for any team that wants to trade up. You have the Washington Commies, who I don't know. I think they should go for a quarterback, so they'll be looking to either trade up or stick where they are. If they stick where they are, they have to accept that they're probably going to get Drake May because Caleb Williams is looking like the number 1 overall option. You've got New England, who could trade up from number 3, and certainly could, because if they don't, then now they're looking at possibly not getting Caleb Williams or Drake May and looking at Jaden Daniels or Michael Penix Jr. We'll see how that game turns out tonight with the national championship, because that's a guy that I'm certainly interested in. You got New England Patriots, who certainly need to draft a quarterback. Arizona Cardinals, I don't know what they're going to do. They could stick with Kyler Murray. They could move on from him. But again, another guy that do the Falcons go and try to trade for. He's got a massive contract. Again, because of that contract and because he has been hurt and underperformed, I think he is a day 2 pick, day 2, day 3 type pick to take him. Because again, Arizona may be looking to draft that quarterback of the future. So you've got 4 teams in the top 4 who all could take a quarterback. They're not all going to, but they could all do that. A lot of people think Washington's going to stick with Sam Howell. I think he showed you things. I don't think it's enough. I don't think he has that it factor. So I personally would want to move on from Sam Howell and go to try to get one of these possible generational guys. But that's just me. LA Chargers are not going to be taking a quarterback. They are going to be a prime landing spot for like Marvin Harrison or maybe a great edge rusher there. The New York Giants, I think, are the prime candidate to try to trade up to get to that number 1 overall pick. You've got the Chicago Bears, who will drop back but get a king's ransom for that pick. They can still take one of probably the top 3 or 4 overall players in the draft, not having to worry about quarterback, which you have to take in the first round if you don't have. And there's anybody close to a first-round grade, you have to do that. So the Giants are probably going to be looking to make that move. The Tennessee Titans could make that move. I don't know if Will Levis is their guy, though they did win here at the end. Tannehill is obviously not their guy. Oh, excuse me. And then you have the Falcons, and the Falcons need a quarterback. Now, again, we know from NFL perspective, from drafting, not every one of these teams is going to take a quarterback. But just looking at it right there, there's 5 teams that could be taking one, maybe 6. And this is a very quarterback-heavy, high-talent quarterback year. My personal pick for the Falcons would be Jaden Daniels or Michael Penix Jr. I like what I've seen from Penix Jr. here in the playoffs, here in the late stretch as the Washington Huskies have made a run for it. I just like seeing what he's done against what I would say is pretty good talent, and I'm really going to be watching him closely tonight to see if he lives up to what I think he is. I am picking the Washington Huskies to win tonight over the Michigan Wolverines. So that's just my thought on it. But again, Atlanta, we're in a bad spot. We are not going to probably win a lot of games next year. We're going to be going up against Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, the Raiders, the Broncos from the AFC West. And then on the other side of it with the NFC East, we're going to have Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. We're going to have the Philadelphia Eagles, who don't look great right now. They're looking like they're going to be an early playoff exit, the way they're playing right now. But you got Hurts there, whoever the New York Giants get, plus their running game if they bring back Saquon. And then you, again, have the Commies who have beaten you 2 years in a row. So I don't have confidence that we can beat them. So, you've got a lot of games, 8 games right there. They're all going to be incredibly tough. And 4 of them you just know are going to be hard because you're going to have consistent quarter play from one year to the next, and it's better than most of the quarterbacks we played this year with this team. I am hopeful that our defense can take steps forward over the offseason and next year. We have a lot of guys that may be retiring, may be moving on. You've got to figure out what you're going to do with Bud Dupree, what you're going to do with Calais Campbell. So guys that might need to be resigned, does Calais stick around? Grady Jarrett should be coming back next year, healthy, maybe by the beginning of the season. Maybe it's later. Maybe it's later in the season. You don't know. Probably going to be early on in the season. I would expect to see him back. You have Onyemata still here, Jesse Bates, Caden Ellis. Some of these guys are going to be sticking around. Nate Landman, who's been a revelation this year. Defense did not play well in this game at all. I don't want to throw this all on the offense, but the defense just gave up huge chunk plays throughout the course of the day. Gave up 48 freaking points. I mean, I don't know what you say there. Again, Saints, congratulations. UDAT this week. Yeah, it didn't end up mattering. Y'all dropped all the way down to the 14th overall pick, so enjoy that. You now hold the series 55-54. Enjoy that for the year. You got to figure out what you're going to do because you're always in cap hell. And when is that bubble finally going to burst? And I don't know the answer to that. Falcons should have about $50 million in cap space this offseason. We'll be talking a lot about quarterbacks that I think the Falcons should draft. I'm giving you a preview of that already, but we'll be talking a lot about that going forward. Otherwise, Arthur Smith, I don't want to be happy that Arthur Smith is gone. I am sorry that it didn't work out. I'm sorry that Ritter didn't work out. I'm sorry that Arthur Smith didn't work out. And I don't believe in the idea of cancel culture. I don't believe in just saying, hey, this guy should lose his job for X, Y, and Z reason. He's obviously done a lot to get where he is in the NFL, but the NFL is very much a high turnover league. Every position, players, coaches, personnel, it's a very high turnover position. He will not be without a job going forward. He will find success as a offensive line coach or as an offensive coordinator somewhere. He will get a job somewhere. But it's just he's not head coach material, and that's what I can say about him. Definitely not head coach material. I'm not cardiothoracic surgeon material. I'm a family medicine material. But again, it's not saying that I don't have knowledge in my area. It's saying that I don't have the drive. I don't have the ability to be a cardiothoracic surgeon. Like that's not something that's in my wheelhouse. It's not something that I don't think I ever would have been blessed with. But I do have the knowledge to understand how that process works. I just don't do it. Same thing with Arthur Smith here. I think that Arthur Smith has the potential to be a good positional coach, maybe an offensive coordinator, but he has to evolve. He has to use this as a learning experience and evolve into something better, into something different. He has to figure out what didn't work in Atlanta and figure out how to change that overall. If he goes into the next job as the same guy that he was in Atlanta, he'll continue to fail. Thank you, Arthur Smith, for your time in Atlanta. I'm sorry it didn't work out. Thank you for Falcons Nation for following along with me this offseason. We're at 206 subscribers as of the making of this video. It keeps fluctuating a little bit. We gain 2, we lose 2. Would love to hit 500 by the end of the 2024 season. Don't know that it's going to happen. We'll see what happens in the offseason, though. Got a lot of content coming to you. We will talk about my picks later on this week for the playoffs. I don't know. I think all the games are set time-wise at this point. But I'm looking forward to it. I don't have a lot else. Been a disappointing season. Nothing more to say about it. As Grady Jarrett said, same bleep, different year. He's not wrong. He is not wrong. 6 losing seasons in a row. This should have been the year that we made the playoffs, should have won the division. Probably should have been 12-5 if we really went back and looked at all the games that we had a chance to win. But it didn't work out. Thank you for watching, liking, sharing, subscribing, and as always, rise up.